Yeah, what gives me peace of mind, of course, I have adopted a beautiful three-legged doggie that Pets Unlimited rescued. She'd been hit by a car and had a badly broken leg, and by the time Pets Unlimited got her, it was too late to save the leg. And I did fall in love with her and adopt her. But the wonderful thing is that the public really, there's so many people who care deeply and do so much for these animals. And I found that they get such incredible homes. And one of the very most amazing, wonderful things about working there is people send letters and photographs, and at the holidays we get more, pictures sent of these animals settled into their new homes. And we keep them for as long as it takes. It's a unique shelter, and we keep them for as long as it takes until they get adopted. And so I've seen them settled in situations that are so magical and amazing, and people telling the stories of how much these animals mean to them.
And how many animals do you guys usually have at one time, if people want to?
It varies probably between, we tend to have no more than, we have about 10 to 15 dogs at a time. Dogs require quite a lot of care, as everybody knows, and they need walking throughout the day and into the evening. So we usually have 10 to 15 dogs available for adoption, and anywhere from 30 to 60 cats.
Wow.
And the variance there will be during kitten season. Cats all go in heat at about the same time and tend to have their litters in the spring and summer. So that's a very busy time, and that's when we'll have a lot more kittens in the shelter. And that's also a time where we really encourage people to think about these wonderful adult cats like Picasso.
Yes,
because the kittens,
nice.
kittens are beautiful, and people just, they come in and they're like, oh my God, and they fall, head over heels in love with these beautiful kittens. But I'm telling you, there's so much to be said, I think, for these adults that don't have their really crazy kid behavior, and they've just kind of grown up a little bit.
Sitting so nicely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all kittens grow into cats anyway.
Exactly.
It's only a matter of time.
Yeah. Yep. And they keep you up all night. They jump on your head. So.
Oh God. So tell me, how can people choose the right pet? Like, we went over a little bit about why people would choose a cat, but why would they pick? I don't know, if I was going to like a shelter. I mean, I've gone to your shelter before when I was looking for a dog. But some people may be hesitant with your shelter, maybe because they have sort of, like you were saying, special needs or special problems. So how could they know if that's all right for them, or if they're going to need more medical care, or if they should choose what kind of pet? That's a lot of questions all in one.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's why our adoption counselors really like to sit and ask those questions of the expectations that the person might have, the lifestyle that they lead, who else lives in the home, and what would they like to have or not have in a pet. Children make a difference, to make sure that it's an animal that feels comfortable and confident with children. And also, what your expectations are. Are you home during the day? Can you if you're looking at a dog, can you bring that dog to work? Some people are very fortunate and can do that. Some cannot. And so all of those things go into matchmaking and finding that perfect forever home for these beautiful animals.
Okay.
Each of them are unique.
And so, so do you guys of course try to solve the medical problems and issues, but is there sometimes additional medical needs and care and upkeep? Of course, you have to take animals to the vet every year or however often, but is there sort of a balance of that and sort of more special needs animals?
Sometimes, often, sometimes an animal, like in the case of the tripod three-legged dog that I have, it was a traumatic injury, and once she'd had that surgery and healed from it, she's the most energetic and healthy dog you could ever want to meet. So Pets Unlimited, again, that's very unique with our emergency 24-hour emergency hospital. We're very well situated to handle animals that are in crisis and intervene at a critical time. So often that's all it takes. Then they're fine, because they got care at a critical moment when either the person couldn't afford the care that was going to be required, or the animal was in a shelter that didn't have the resources to provide them that life-saving opportunity. So that's a big part of it. And we find that that's really, most often, again, we try to also educate the public. That's a big part of it, because even if you've fallen in love with a particular breed of dog or a breed of cat, and you decide, I'm going to go out and I just have to have, I want a Burmese cat, or I want a Labrador, those are wonderful animals. And yet, people need to understand, it's just as possible that those animals will have whatever issue, you know, and certain breeds tend to have certain genetic concerns. And by the same token, in shelters, we often do get purebred animals surrendered. It's you know, it's not an uncommon thing. So I always tell people, make sure if you have your heart set on a breed, think about looking at shelters, think about contacting Pets Unlimited, think about breed rescue groups. It's really important. A lot of times you can get, even if you have, you know, oh, I want a chocolate lab. We do get those. We've had a couple of chocolate labs since I've worked at Pets Unlimited. So usually you can find your heart's desire in a shelter.
Oh, good.
And of course, I love the unique ones, the one of a kinds. I'll take the one of a kind any day. But we shelters also have a surprising number of purebreds, and unfortunately, in today's economic climate, that's also especially true because a lot of people that might have had to sell their homes and things are surrendering animals, and there's a tremendous need for people to adopt from shelters. There's a lot of animals that need homes.
Get one right now. No, you talk a little bit about educating the public. What are your other sort of community relationships? You guys now aren't only a veterinary center and animal care, but what else do you do?
Yeah, we have a holistic veterinary medicine program. We offer, we have a beautiful holistic center at Pets Unlimited on Fillmore Street, and we offer acupuncture and Chinese herbal therapies.
Really, for the animals? Just making sure it's for the animals.
It is for the animals.
Wow.
Yeah.
And do they seem to respond well and enjoy that? And how does that? Do a lot of people know about that and are sort of
it's growing in interest, and people are becoming more and more aware of that availability for animals. Often people's entree to it is that they had maybe that treatment themselves and got a lot of benefit from it, so they decide to try it. And most animals tolerate it beautifully. Not all of them, but most of them do.
Wow.
Yeah, even kitties. I was really surprised. I thought it would be more something that maybe you could do with dogs, but I've seen kitties relaxed and purring with acupuncture needles.
Interesting. So do you guys also have relationships with other shelters around the city? Do they call you up, or do you call them, or how does that work?
We do, and we also have we also work with partner organizations. Pets Unlimited is like an umbrella organization in that we partner with other organizations like PAWS, Pets Are Wonderful Support, Vet SOS, Veterinary Street Outreach Services. Animal Care and Control. We provide nighttime emergency services to the city of San Francisco. We provide permanent benefits for the San Francisco police dogs when they retire, because the city's unable to provide veterinary care after the dogs are retired from active duty.
Where do those dogs go, by the way? This is a random tangent.
No,
but
it's an interesting story, actually. It's a very interesting story. Interestingly, those dogs are almost always adopted by the officers that worked with them.
And that makes sense.
Because they lived and worked with them while they're working dogs, they live with the officers. And so these officers really have incredible relationships with the dogs where they've worked alongside of them in life-threatening situations. And so and the city's unable to care for them after that. And we had a wonderful donor step up and say, I want to provide those benefits. So that is something that Pets Unlimited does through the generosity and caring of a wonderful
He's had it. He was so nice the whole segment. He's like, I'm over it.
And
get me out of here.
Yeah, I know, handsome boy. Come here.
He's hiding.
This wonderful donor stepped up, and she provides and helps us in Pets Unlimited to provide lifetime medical care benefits for the rest of the life. And so generally they're housed with the officer who worked with that dog.
Well, that's amazing. So how can people, if people are interested, how can they get involved with Pets Unlimited?
We're very interested in having the community join us in helping these beautiful, beautiful animals. And there's so many ways you can help. People who care, some people choose to donate. You can adopt from our shelter. You can become a Pets Unlimited volunteer. You can choose to use our veterinary center. And we also are always looking for wonderful foster parents. It's really fun. A woman told me that she hadn't had so much fun in 20 years when she looked after a litter of kittens, foster kittens, because sometimes we get them and they're very small and underage, and they need to be, I believe, 2 pounds until they can have their spay or neuter surgery and become available for adoption.
Wow.
So when we get litters of kittens in, people volunteer, do wonderful work, and look after these little babies. And then they bring them back to the shelter. I think Miss Yvonne was one of those kittens, and one of the late season kittens. And they look after them and bottle feed them if necessary, and get them onto kibble, and then they bring them back, and we put them up for adoption. And it's just a wonderful way. You're not making the commitment to say, oh, this is going to be my animal forever, and so they get to spend wonderful time with kittens and save their lives and provide that kind of care that they need, that nurturing. We also sometimes have dogs that are in need. Maybe they're being rehabilitated from an injury, and they need a very quiet setting or some other rehabilitation until they're ready to find their forever home. And so we're always looking for foster parents to help us.
And if you are interested in learning more about Pets Unlimited, becoming a volunteer, foster parent, or you just want dog or cat to come in your home, you can go to www.petsunlimited.org. And thank you, Sally, for coming in today and speaking to us. And thank you, Picasso, for being so nice and gentle and kind. And he's falling asleep.